What is abortion? Abortion is the intentional termination of pregnancy after conception. It allows women to put an end to their pregnancy, but involves killing the undeveloped embryo or fetus. For this reason, it is a very controversial subject in American politics. Abortion has been used to control fertility in every known society, regardless of its legality. It was practiced legally in the United States until about 1880, by which time most states had banned it except to save the life of the woman. Anti-abortion legislation was part of backlash against the growing movements for suffrage and birth control, an effort to control women and to confine them to traditional childbearing roles. Abortion has always been highly debated. Some people thought it shouldn't be legal nor allowed, and some people thought it should. According to many sources I had, it would explain how people would have marches and speeches explaining why they chose a certain side or not. Over this highly debated topic, two fellow Americans, Jane Roe and Henry Wade, had an actual debate, which most of you may know named the Roe versus Wade case. They had a debate about whether abortion should be legal or not to settle at least half of this rowdy crowd they had. It was argued December 13th, 1971, re-argued October 11th, 1972, and decided January 22nd, 1973 in Dallas, Texas. This case was argued because many people, not just women, thought that women should be able to do whatever they wanted with their bodies and that their bodies are their bodies. This case was made for the same reason as how it was made. Roe v. Wade ruled an unconstitutional state law that banned abortions except to save the life of the mother. The court ruled that the states were forbidden from outlawing or regulating any aspect of abortion performed during the first trimester of pregnancy, could only enact abortion regulations reasonably related to the maternal health in the third and second trimester, and could enact abortion laws protecting the life of the fetus only in the third trimester. Even then, an exception had to be made to protect the life of the mother. Controversial from the moment it was released, Roe v. Wade politically divided the nation more than any other recent case and continues to inspire heated debates, politics, and even violence today, the culture wars. Though by no means the Supreme Court most important decision, Roe v. Wade remains its most recognized. Throughout history, women have and still do seek to end pregnancies. When abortion is illegal or inaccessible, women suffer. Before abortion was legal, women were maimed or died trying to obtain back alley abortions, and when limitations are placed on access to abortion, women still face great hardship and, in some cases, personal physical harm. Before Roe v. Wade, women sought out abortion in any way they could. If they had enough money, they would travel outside the U.S. for legal abortion or possibly obtain an abortion from a doctor in the U.S. Although the outcome wasn't always dependable since women were at the whims of the doctors, homemade methods, often ineffective or dangerous or both, were the only option for many women. They included douching with the soap or bleach or affecting lye or inserting a wire coat hanger.
It was 1962. I was 22 years old. I was rushed to the emergency room with a fever of 105 and blood poisoning. I had had an illegal abortion. Blindfolded, without anesthetic, I never saw the face of the abortionist. My own doctor, who refused to provide a safe abortion, would now try to save my life. Because I had good medical care, I survived. Many women died. The
I was 17 years old. I was married. And 10 months after I was married, I had a baby girl. She was very ill, very jaundiced, and the doctor told me, the OBGYN who had delivered her, told me that if I ever had another child, I would die. 3 months later, I was pregnant again. And I was absolutely terrified. So I went back to him and I said, "Am I pregnant?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "I told you not to get pregnant." And I said, "But you didn't tell me how not to." I couldn't have that baby, because if I did, and I died, who would take care of the little baby I had? And so I asked the young woman where I worked, and they sent me to a woman, and she put, I think it was a strip of slippery elm bark up my uterus. 2 days later, I had a screaming fever, and I was in such pain. And so I went back out to see this woman. And she said, "I told you not to come back." And I said, "I have nowhere else to go." And she put her arms around me like that. And she just held me up to her chest for a minute. And she said, "Honey, did you think it was so easy to be a woman?" Everyone told me that if I had any sense, I wouldn't look at the baby. I would just let them take it away, and I'd never look at the baby. But I did. I let them bring the baby to me, and I held the baby.
Rosalie had been raped by an older man. She decided to go to a home for unwed mothers and then give the baby up for adoption.
And I owed some money for my boarding room and medical. And so I stayed for a while, and I worked in the nursery to work the money off. And I was just around babies all the time. And I actually held a baby before they took it. Oh, God. And anybody who would think that would be a great way to solve the problem is just... You take a child who doesn't even know her own mind, a 17-year-old young woman, and ask her to carry a baby in her body for 9 months and then give birth to it and then just give it away like it's nothing.
Many of the people who took part in the women's liberation movement of the late 1960s and early 70s had previous experience organizing in the civil rights and anti-poverty movements. These activists pressing demands that challenged the status quo of segregation and poverty also began to take a hard look at the day-to-day sexism that they experienced. In some cases, activists had to take on sexism as it appeared in other movements and fight to put women's liberation on the list of demands. The more that activists exposed and protest that inequality, the more public opinion at large shifted too. The main argument of this event was if the right to have an abortion should be legal or not legal. Many people didn't believe in abortions, and some people actually did. In most of the sources I had, it explained that it was a fight and a march for or against abortion rights. My topic has affected today by giving women rights to get abortions, but also has caused a lot of controversy and hate towards women who has gotten abortions and didn't keep their baby. Also, many religions and certain families also didn't believe in abortions and is strongly against it. Not only families and certain religions were against abortion, but also cities and sometimes even whole states were against it. They thought that every baby, alive or still in the fetus, should be able to have a chance in life, to take its first steps, to have its first day of school, and all the things that you've had, and not to take that away from them. Roe versus Wade, my topic, has affected many people today because it gives women the right to do whatever they feel with their bodies without it being illegal and getting penalized for doing what they want, when they want, and however they want with their bodies. In conclusion, the Roe versus Wade case affected women in many ways, mostly positive, but has also affected many families and obviously the little infants' lives who has been taken. It also remains the most controversial topic in America.